Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Foil Drive podcast. This week we've got Dom Hoskins, Mr. Foil Drive Europe, and he's going to give us a little bit of recap of what's been happening in the last couple months of his life. So, welcome, Dom.
Hi, Josh. Thanks for hosting.
So, whereabouts in the world are you now? Because I feel like Europe, even though it's a huge place, that you're always bouncing around all these different countries.
Well, I'm back in the Netherlands. I only just got back after foiling week in Lake Garda. But before that, yeah, you're right. I have been bouncing around. It's been a lot of travel recently. So
Is
prior
that
to
basically because obviously it's summer in Europe right now, and it's just the prime time that everyone's getting in the water and I guess you've got all these. Are they mainly demo events, or are they kind of like what you said, foiling week that are more races or demonstrations?
it's definitely full season at the moment here in Europe. Yeah. There's a mixture of events, demo events, foil festivals, full on. The foiling week has been one of the biggest, or I suppose, in terms of length, duration. It was 8 days. So prior to this one, I was in Germany for Fehmarn Foil Festival. That was 4 days. Prior to that, there was a wing in Paris Foil Festival over a weekend. And prior to that was Barcelona Foil Festival, where we had the big Downwind race where well, you know all about that. You were there. So yeah, but I mean, even in winter, I do a lot of traveling around because there's so many good winter destinations for that's considered part of Europe. So there's the Canary Islands, there's southern Spain, Tarifa, just so many good spots in Europe. It's unreal.
Give us a bit of a picture for people that aren't from Europe. How big is foiling getting in Europe now?
Wow, I mean it's huge, and I genuinely feel even though it's I consider it to be a big part of the water sports industry already. I genuinely think we've only just scratched the tip of the iceberg in terms of foiling potential here. I mean, Europe's got it's got so much variety. So it does have some epic surf spots. It's got some unbelievable downwinding locations. But it's also got inland all those lakes where you've got a huge pump foil community, and these guys are hardcore. We're talking about the Swiss, the Germans, especially. They're leading the charge. Their pump communities are big already, growing rapidly, and seriously dedicated to the dock start pump foil cause. The SFT, sorry, the Surf Foil World Tour are doing some really cool dock start pump races, integrating full drive divisions into those pump races. Yeah, it's the foil scene in Europe, depending on where you are, you can literally do anything. The wing foil scene is massive, absolutely massive.
Is that the biggest, the wing foil, do you think, in
Oh,
your
for sure.
perspective? Definitely. Okay.
Yeah,
And in
yeah.
which region would the wing foilers be overtaking? I'm curious.
The-
Like it's all new to me.
I mean, anywhere where you traditionally find kite surfers, kite foilers, obviously, and windsurfers, you will find, I think, most of those locations, you'll probably find more wing foilers than the rest of the wind sport users now. And if not already more, then certainly growing, and it won't be long before the wing foilers overtake them. Um, yeah, it's not even just those seriously windy spots. It's the lakes as well. Despite having sort of inconsistent and relatively low winds, the lakes are getting more and more wing foilers over all the other wind sport users. It's just so easy easily accessible. Once you're up on foil, it's so efficient. People can do anything from freestyle to mowing a lawn to jumping. It's just
Yeah,
so
I was super impressed by that when I was recently in Switzerland, and I didn't even know that pump foil freestyle was even a thing. So I guess they've
Oh,
evolved from just pumping around because they're really good at that now to now they're doing tricks and it's just incredible. Like they're going switch, they're doing
mm.
airs, they're doing 360s, and it's mind-boggling because they just got a flat piece of water and they're making so much fun out of it. It's so cool to see.
Yeah, and you've got superstars like Balsamula leading the charge, and loads of others besides. And what they're doing freestyle wise is just like you say, it's mind-boggling. And to add to the mix, you've then got things like the Sabfoil Sea Devil, that monofoil, which is it's sort of doing the rounds. Bulls obviously has one. A few team riders have got one. I've actually had the good fortune to test it out at Lake Garda with Foildrive. I could tell it's very very different. It's a whole load of fun. Very
Please
different
explain.
concept.
I want to hear more. I'm very interested in this foil. I haven't seen one in the flesh yet or tried it, but definitely seen it on the internet.
Yeah, and when it was actually Nico Hop from Instagram, he's Hopline. He's one of our team riders. He helped us out at Lake Garda, and he brought one along. And yeah, it's a big chunky foil. And when I first looked at it, I just honestly didn't know what to make of it. Um, he's used it for wing foiling, and if you go on his Instagram, you'll see, he's done some pretty cool things with it. It's you break it on top of the water and slide, and you can spin, and he's doing his usual jumps and carving around. But on foil drive, I really wanted to see what I could do with it, and it. I only used it for a couple of 20-minute sessions so far. He's actually let me take it away so I can do a little bit more with it on the lakes and maybe even in the swell here in the Netherlands. Um, my first impressions with it, it's a freestyle machine. It's, for those people who want to do spins and tricks and just push the limits of freestyle, that's going to be just a tool in the freestyle sort of weaponry that's available to those people who want to do that. Now, I'm not a freestyler at all, but I couldn't resist it, and I could really see that it's very loose, very well. First of all, I tried it with the tail, and it felt like a completely beginner sort of setup. It felt really easy to use. Took the tail off after about 5 minutes. It wasn't that much more difficult to use, but you could tell that it was going to let you do things that other foils won't. But at the same time, it's a compromise. Everything has a compromise. You could turn and spin really easily, but if you carve hard, so you roll one way, rolling out of that carve, because of the sheer surface area of the thing, it's a monofoil. It looks literally like a stealth bomber. It's actually quite hard to break from one roll straight into another roll. So yeah, like I say, it's a compromise. It's going to be, some people will find it a lot of fun, and other people will go, not for me.
Yeah, no, it looks like a super interesting design, and I love when companies are just thinking outside the box, and I'm dying to try it. So it's cool to hear that. Yeah, that you think there's definitely something in it.
Oh yeah, for
Talk.
sure. It's and I sorry to interrupt, but what you just said there, I love. I completely agree with. I love it when companies push the limits. If they didn't, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing today. I mean, there's a lot of people when power winging started, they were all like, what are you guys doing? That's rubbish. And then F1 brought out the plume, and even the power wingers are going, oh, well, that's a load of rubbish. And you think, well, look, if you look back at the first kites, they had these bars that were like, I don't know, over a meter, maybe even close to 2 meters long, and they had these big reels that would let the lines out on. And some people were doing it with water skis, some people were doing it mono skis, some people were doing it surfboards, and they were dangerous as hell. And you can bet your life that people looking at them on the beach were going, "You're mad! What are you doing? You're going to kill yourself! Stop it!" And yet it evolved into this amazing industry, and then wing foiling came along, and all the kiters were going, "You guys look like kooks. What are you doing? Stop it!" And now look at wing foiling, and it's the same with power winging. It's the same with F1's K wing, or it might be. Who knows? It's early days yet. And the mono foil Sea Devil thing. Who knows if people don't test new ideas? Let's not stifle creativity. Let's just encourage people to come up with these wacky ideas because you never know where the next greatest thing is going to come from.
That's it. Totally. So kind of tell us, I know this is a little bit maybe going back to the origins, but tell us a little bit more about Foil Drive Europe. Tell us about the team you've got now and tell us how Foil Drive Europe services Europe in a
Sure.
quick little
Yeah.
summary.
Okay. Real quick summary. I came to Europe, God, was it October? So close to 2 years, getting on for 2 years ago now. Just me on my own. Started setting up Full Drive Europe, the business, because it is a proper company here in the Netherlands. Owned by, so it's a subsidiary company of Full Drive Australia or Full Drive Global, I suppose now. Um, I started doing dealer visits, trying to build up a dealer network, uh, doing events, visiting people, meeting people, trying to test the water, find opportunities. Um, within 9 months, we'd exceeded our 3-year projections, so it was going pretty well. And the demand for full drive, was and still is, yeah, just really high. There's a lot of interest in it everywhere I go. It's a mixture of people who know a lot about it, a little about it, and nothing about it at all. And those people who know a lot, it's great to see how those people, the full drive community, is getting on, what they're doing with full drive, how they're getting on in their areas, what they're using it for. The people who know a little bit about it, it's great again because it helps them either to make the decision whether it's right for them or not. And again, that helps build the whole scene. And the people who know nothing about it, well, it's a starting point because full drive is, let's face it, it's an amazing piece of equipment, but it's not cheap. In terms of value, I think it's one of the best bits of kit that you can spend money on because it's so versatile. But it's not an instant purchase. It's not a impulse purchase. People need time to sort of think about it, get to know about it, maybe try it, maybe go away and just research it. And then, after they've figured it out, whether it's right for them or not, they may pull the trigger. We met people at Fehmarn. So we went back to, there's a few events this year that we went to last year. So we're beginning to go to events for the second time. And in those events, like Fehmarn, we're meeting people who we met that time last year, and they're coming back and they're saying, "Oh, we bought Foil Drive 3 months ago." So that's literally a full 9 months after they first demoed it, after they first, tried it, got to know about it, and it's taken that amount of time for them to decide, "Yep, it's right for me," and they pull the trigger. And every single one of them were like complete advocates. This has changed my life. Would never go back to using, to not having full drive. So yeah, it's really cool from that point of view. Full drive kept me busy for a long time. It was obvious that I needed help, and the business had grown by then. So one of our best and sort of most enthusiastic team riders, and by that time a friend, Andrea Di Paola, based in Italy, we took him on board as a full-time sort of sales agent, helping to deal with the dealer network and onboard new dealers and schools and help with demos and events. Absolute legend. He's such a good guy. So I couldn't think of anybody better for Full Drive and for the foiling community. He's done so much to help build the foiling community in Italy and beyond. Then for operations, basically I was bringing on board dealers, but all the invoicing and all the shipping of orders was still coming from Australia. So we then decided it's now time to take the plunge and get somebody full-time in Australia to deal with all of the invoicing, set up 3PL warehouse, and start shipping and fulfillment from Europe. So Jan Paul is a member of the team. So there's a fly that's buzzing around my camera there. He's an absolute superstar. He's literally built up the whole of the operational side of Full Drive Europe from scratch, and he's transformed Full Drive from being basically a just a sort of sales and demo type operation into a full-on business that is, fully able to operate completely independently. Um, yeah, we've what else have we got? Recently, we've taken on Julia Castro part-time as our social media content creator. So that's really big for us because, again, we can go to all these places, but there's no point really in doing all these things if we can't show people the cool things that's going on. Um, and yeah, we are literally about to take on a few more people in terms of sales and office admin because Foildrive Europe is growing that quick.
That's exciting. I think what's also really cool too, and I'm sure this is the whole premise of why you guys set up Four Drive Europe, is I guess if you're in Europe and you've got customer service questions or you want to get a direct answer straight away, you're on that time zone and you don't have to worry till Australia wakes up, and it's a bit more direct, do you feel?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've had to do things step by step, and we've had to rely on ForgeRive Australia as a shared resource, but it's not been ideal because they're ridiculously busy as it is, and the time zone, like you mentioned, just makes everything more fragmented and difficult. And yeah, now we're having our own dedicated team members for literally every single section of the business now. Then it's going to make everything more streamlined, more instant, more reactive. We can be proactive rather than reactive, and yeah, for sure, it's going to make everything better.
Oh, that's super exciting. So I guess let's jump into maybe working backwards of what's just happened. Let's start with the most recent thing, Lake Garda foiling week. Maybe give us a little rundown of what that week is and what the place is like.
Wow, yeah, it's unbelievable in both respects. So the location, Lake Garda, is one of the most beautiful places in the world, in a lot of people's opinions and mine as well. Um, it's obviously this huge lake surrounded by mountains. Just northern Italy, beautiful, very relaxed. The people are so friendly, and a lot of touristic areas. You think that if it's a busy touristic area, I sort of feel sorry for the locals in some ways because their lives must just be so stressful and chaotic and hectic during the touristic season. But somehow Lake Garda doesn't feel like that. It just feels really like everybody's able to get on with what they want to do, and it just doesn't seem to be too ridiculous. Um, the lake has these amazing conditions. So in the mornings, you normally get the northern winds, what they call the Pelea. And so from sunrise till about, I don't know, it can vary from 9 or 10 o'clock. Usually it stops, and then you get again usually a few hours of no wind at all, and then anytime from 11 or 12, or certainly from 1 o'clock, the southern wind, the aura, picks up, and that lasts usually until sunset. Um, so you get these, fairly consistent wind and swell in the morning. So you could, in theory, go out of where you are downwind until the Pele stops, and then you can have a break, have lunch, maybe do some flat water pumping or whatever you like, and then after lunch you can down and back again in the opposite direction on the due to that aura, and get back to your home spot. It's one of these places where the mountains sort of funnel the thermal winds. So on the morning side, on the mornings, the northern wind is usually on the west side of the lake, the west half of the lake, and then in the southern winds in the afternoon, it's either the whole of the lake or more on the east side. It's a very special place.
Wow, that does sound very unique. And were you in wetsuits the other week, or were you in board shorts? How cold or how hot is it?
Um, I packed my van with every bit of full drive equipment I had available to me, and I forgot to put my own sort of water wear, wetsuits, boardies. I forgot to put anything in there, and luckily, I did actually have an old 4.3 in there, I put it on the first day, and I literally just felt like I was melting. So I cut the arms and the legs off to make
Oh,
a
I seen that
makeshift
on
shorty.
Instagram. That was hilarious. Yeah, you did your own DIY, just got the scissors out and cut it into a short wetsuit.
It did the job. It worked. It was just about right. So, I mean, if you have a real lightweight summer suit, then that's all you need. But yeah, some people were in. Most people were in shorties. Some people had boardies and neoprene tops. But yeah, it's a lovely temperature. It really is. Um,
And what's the history of the lake? Like, obviously, before foiling, there was probably sailing going on there, or what's it?
Oh, it's a sailing mecca. It really is. I mean,
Okay.
it's because it's predominantly quite light winds, so you're always getting, you're almost guaranteed getting that sort of 8 to 15 knot wind range. But quite often you're getting 15 to 20 and sometimes 20 to 25 knots. Um, and the history of Lake Garda, really, I'm not Italian, I'm not a historian, I don't know much about the history behind the lake, but there's a massive sailing scene there, and the location for Foiling Week, I've forgotten the name of it, but it's a pretty big, prestigious sailing club there, and yeah, even though the event was open to the public, anybody could, buy a ticket and come along for a day or the whole week. Mainly, it was just the members of the sailing club. Now, predominantly, Foiling Week, which has been going on for at least 12, maybe even longer, maybe even 16 years, predominantly it's been all about sailing and then, sorry, well, foiling, sailing, foiling craft. So this year you had the Wasps, Switch, and Moth EVF 26, I think it is. Those are the birdie fish, and all those sort of foil sailboats, catamarans, all those things. Um, Now I'm a complete newbie for all of those things. I've been into sort of water sports all my life, but only in terms of sailboats. It's just been like lasers and dinghies when I was a real youngster. Then I got into windsurfing real early, then kite surfing, and finally wing foiling and full drive. Um, but proper sailcraft and then foil sailcraft, really, I'm a complete newbie. So that took me by surprise. And the first day I was in the water, helping out some people with full drive demos, and suddenly one of the wasp heats started, and I'm not kidding you, somewhere between 60 and 90 wasps, these super thin sailboats with sort of like little, I don't know, bits that they sit on to for leverage either side of the actual hull itself. But the hull it can't be much wider than a suck down windboard. They started and lit right over the other side of the lake, and within less than a minute they were on us, and we were going, "Oh my God, let's get off the water! This is so dangerous. We're going to get cut in half." Um, and yeah, they go so fast, it's ridiculous. And again, the nuts thing was that the wasps are probably the slowest out of the wasp, the switch, and the moth divisions. So yeah, there were probably somewhere between 20 and 30, Olympic and world champions in each of those divisions. This is the quality and the standard of Foiling Week. It attracts the best of the best of the foiling world. The yacht racing scene is very, very highly competitive. What I loved about the moths was that they all have like an imprint, like a picture of a moth, just either white or gold. And if the moth at the top of the sail is gold, that's a world champion sailing that boat. It's
Wow,
very cool. Yeah,
that
there
is
were
very
lots of
cool.
golden moths.
And is that would you say after being there now and experiencing that, are the sailing foilers bigger than the wing foil scene, or like are they, how you said they've been around for 16 years, are they way more developed than what we're doing?
Um, right. So each one of these things costs between 40 and 60,000 euros. So I don't think you're ever going to get as many of those foil sailboats on the water that compared to wing foils. just because of the sheer cost of it. But in terms of technology and development, um, again, it's a hard one because I think the wasp scene is a little bit like Formula One. You know, everyone's restricted to a certain type of equipment, but you're allowed to modify it and tweak it. Whereas the moths, everything is standardized. Everything is the same. It has to be exactly the same. So their development is very much like Formula One and all the other sort of car racing leagues. You've got to stay within the parameters. But yeah, obviously they've had, I think, a lot longer to develop their technology and hone things. I mean, the foils on some of those moths, they've got flexible leading edges on the foils, and they've got a very, very specific design. I mean, they must have been through so many more iterations of foil design than we have. So it's very exciting seeing and talking to them about that, but how that would translate, because each of these foil boats, they've either got two foils, one at the front and one at the back, or they've got like a dual one at the front and one at the back, or the catamarans, it gets even more complicated. So very, very different to ours. But I think there's a lot that could be learned if we look at each other's designs. And I think that's one of the things the foiling organization who run Foiling Week, that's one of their main sort of aims is, although Foiling Week started off being solely about foil sailboat racing, now that recently, the last few years, they've been really trying very hard to integrate every single facet of the foiling industry. They had Kitos there, who they do all sorts of foils and boards, but they're probably best known for dock starting and flat water pumping boards and foils. They're much more than that, but they're very well known for that. They were there with a stand. They were allowing people to demo all their dock starting kit. They had a big presence at the SFT pump races, and it's literally you had Noah Cantaloupe from North. He was there, just showcasing winging, power winging, again, dock or rock starting, just every aspect of foiling. The guys from Haru Productions, Haru Movies, the French guys, they were there, the two brothers, Valère and Phil, again, showcasing some of their designs of foil boards, foils, just showing what it's all capable of. So it's merging all of the disciplines together, regardless of what discipline of foiling it is. And just helping the sport to grow and helping the industry to coalesce and sort of learn together and network and see what benefit can come from that.
Did Foil Drive integrate into that quite nicely, or were you an outsider, or?
That's a really, really good way to phrase the question, because I was a little bit worried about how Full Drive would be received. And yeah, you hit it on the nail. I was worried, would we be an outsider there? But do you know what? It couldn't have been more opposite. It couldn't have been the other way around, more the other way around. It was like Full Drive allows every side of it to come together. So there's at least 3 hours of every day where there's no winds in Lake Garda. And sometimes you just don't get the morning pale air or the afternoon aura. It's rare, but sometimes it happens. So, when there was no wind, it was like everybody, all the racers, all the sailboat racers were coming down and going, oh, yeah, we've heard about Full Drive. I'm just starting to wing, or I'm just starting to pump or downwind or whatever. Can I give it a go? And they were absolutely frothing about it. They're just so we couldn't keep up with all the demos. And when it was windy, we were out there either with a power wing or downwinding. So many, and let's not forget about the wake thieving. Oh my goodness me! Right, so there are these ferries that go between the towns, either parallel with the shore or crossing the lake from town to town. And some of them have got pretty amazing wakes. Now, I was so busy with demos and dealing with everything that we were there for that I didn't actually get to do any ferry wake riding, but one of our team riders, Stefan Furman, he lives around Lake Garda for most of the year, certainly in the summer months. And he is an absolute master of knowing which ferries have got the best wakes. He knows the ferry captains because, and I really respect that, rather than just charging to a ferry and joining its wake and, utilizing that without any due respect. He's actually approached the ferryboat captains and explained, what he would like to do and asked them permission for, is it okay to join your wake? And he's shown them pictures and videos of him foiling and saying, look, if I'm real careful and I approach from the back, I'll never cut in front of your head, towards the direction you're traveling. And there, some of them are like, that would be great. It'll give my passengers something to look at. It'll be fun. And some of them are like, do you know what? My ferry's so big and fast, I just don't want the risk. And so he now knows which ferries this is acceptable to do. And I think that's such an important thing. I love the videos that you've done on full drive etiquette and making sure that we're respectful of people in the lineup, and we think about where we're using our full drives, and we respect other water users. And it's exactly the same for riding any wake. I think if we just think a wake is up for grabs regardless, then I think we could be causing a few problems for ourselves. So certainly with the big ferries, having talked to Stefan, I'm going to do a podcast with Stefan because it's so important to get this message out, and also it's so cool seeing what he has been doing on Lake Garda. It's just unbelievable. So yeah, he's been doing a lot of that, and we saw a few ferries in the distance, but we didn't have time to do it this year. But there are so many boats zooming around Lake Garda all the time that me and Noah, we were just doing a little bit of filming, messing around close to the shore, and we saw this boat go out with this unbelievable wake. So we charged it down, both of us in full drives, and we rode the wake for, I don't know, probably about a kilometer, and then mixture of sort of hybrid full driving and pumping all on the way back. It was just incredible. One of those moments that's totally unscripted. It's just spur of the moment and such fun. Really was.
I love that. It sounds so much fun. Was it? It's a very, very, very long event, 7 days. Like, were you demoing every day, or was there? I seen there was a few competitions on. Talk us through like what happened on the schedule.
It was supposed to be 7 days. It turned out to be 8 days because there were so many entrants for all the Wasp switch and the other, Moth, ETF 26, all of those foil sailboats, the divisions, they had to put on extra races, so they extended it by putting a day on. So instead of the 23rd to the 29th, it was the 22nd to the 29th. So the 22nd was supposed to be my setup day, and me getting there. And after 2 days of driving, because I broke up a 14-hour drive into 2 7-hour sections each day. I was supposed to get there, have a day to sort of chill, set up, maybe even have a bit of time on the water to myself. And oh no, it was literally like, we've got an extra day, guys. So it was me on my own, lugging all the equipment down to where we set up our tent. And literally as I was setting up, people were coming down asking for demos. So the first 5 days was literally pretty much just demos and me talking to people, just networking, seeing what the whole foiling week scene is all about, and trying to figure it out, trying to figure out where full drive fits in. And luckily that was pretty obvious and worked very, very well. The last 3 days was almost completely different. Yeah, we were still doing some demos, but it changed focus to the SFT, the Surf Foil World Tour. Now it's a fairly young organisation. They're spread quite wide, and it's early days yet. I think they're doing an amazing job spreading the word, trying to generate interest, trying to bring together the public more with the people who are doing these races, because a lot of the world tours are very fixated, very focused on the elite. The SFT, yes, they're getting the best of the best, but they're also, trying to make it accessible to just general foilers. Um, and as such, they invited Foil Drive to have a Foil Drive division within each of the races. I mean, the Downwinder was a no-brainer. That's fairly straightforward and easy. We had some very interesting chats about how we could take part in the pump races and the e-foil races. That was a laugh. And in the end, we sort of decided to make it more showcase than anything else because, well, if you take the e-foil races, I mean, proper e-foils are so much more powerful than foil drive. That's not what full drive is about. As it's full drive is designed to be as light and as discreet as possible. I mean, it does have an amazing weight to power ratio. It's got all the power you need to get up on foil, even with small foils and boards, but it's not designed for out and out power and speed. So we had this really cool course that the SFT set up. It's a big H, the letter H, and both start in the middle, going in the same direction. And it's sort of like if one person catches up the other, then the race is over. But you both do 2 laps, and the first person to cross the finish line obviously wins that heat, and everybody races everybody. So all the e-foilers were racing each other, and all the foil drivers were racing each other, but we weren't competing against the e-foilers. I thought that was such a cool way for them to sort of put it all together.
Maybe
And
it's
we
a
we
little
had
bit like uh, divisions, as in like if you're under this much power, you're in this division, and if you're over that much power, you're in this division. Do you think that could work, especially with
love it.
other foil assist brands and brands that aren't really trying to be an e-foil?
Love it. That's such a good idea. Yeah, and I'm now working with the guys in the SFT to sort of try and come up with something that we can some sort of format that we can roll out consistently because they're convinced after foiling week we're all convinced that this is the way to go. And you're absolutely right. We do not want to restrict it to foil drive. This has to be a foil assist division. Now I love what you've just said. Yeah. So anything under a certain level of power, yeah, that sounds really, really good because that is one of the problems, isn't it? When you allow foil assists of all types to come in, some are going to be different power levels. So we want to make it as fair. But I mean, really, I think this is, even though I surprised myself at how much fun I had on the competitive side of things, really, the focus for me is to try and get as many people into foiling as possible and keep them in foiling, because one of Foil Drive's strengths is it's amazing for beginners, but it's amazing for any level of progression. Even yourself, one of the world's best, you're still using and loving Foil Drive in certain conditions. But foiling, hard sport to learn, I think we have probably a very high dropout rate as well as, being hard to entice people in to try it for the first time. A lot of people try it and go, oh, this is too difficult. I'll never cope. So they stop doing it. Well, getting people into it is one thing, but keeping people in it is another thing. And that sort of excitement from, being able to join in a race, like we did the Barcelona Downwind race, whenever it was, a few weeks ago, a few months ago. It's all a blur to me at the moment. And then we did I did the Downwind race not here, at Lake Garda Foiling Week. And just the fact that, anybody with a foil assist can join in that division. Doesn't matter what level you are. You can use the trigger as much as you like. Obviously, using the trigger, using the motor, you're actually slower than if you are riding the swells. So in order to keep you going and allow you to finish the race, it's brilliant. But if you want to stand a chance of a podium place in the full drive division, then using the trigger, the motor as less as possible is best. But somebody like me, I would never stand a chance of getting a podium place when I'm competing with the elite. But I stand a chance in the foil drive, the foil assist division. So I think it's what the SFT are planning is amazing. And I talked about the e-foil races that they did, which Well, it was a totally different game. I've never literally just held the trigger at 100% and just gone at every corner, every straight, just 100%, just banking into it. All I'm focused on is pitch control. That's it. It's just like keep the nose down. um, and it was fun. It was fun. Different way of foiling completely. The pump races, that was hilarious because one of the things I started in foiling was wing foiling and sup foiling, but COVID hit pretty soon, and I was restricted to learning to dock start, and that's I suppose how I became an influencer without even trying really. I just posted everything that I was doing about dock starting online and trying to help people because there was no help available whatsoever when I started. So people got to know me through dock starting mostly, and then when full drive came along, I just thought, well, this is even better than dock starting. I don't need a dock. I don't need to get back to the dock. I can literally dock start with full drive anywhere I am in the water. And I sort of forgot about dock starting because I didn't need it. And then the SFT offered to have a full drive division in the pump races, and I thought, all right, well, I'm going to actually give the proper dock start part of it a go as well, just to see if I've still got it. And they were all running along the side of the dock with their small foils, jumping onto the board and pumping away at a million miles an hour. And there was Grandad himself standing on the side of the jetty, dropping my board, jumping from a static position onto the board. And I could do it, but I have to use a big foil for a static start, and therefore I was going super slow compared with everybody else. But the point is that it was great fun, and the
Hang on,
SFT will
explain that
allow.
again, just for our listeners. So you put the board in the water and then you'd run and jump off the dock and pull the trigger and go?
No, sorry. So let me start again. I entered the dock start competitions, both the full drive division and the normal non-foil, the normal dock start
Hmm.
competition. So I had one set up without foil drive and one set up with foil drive. So when I was doing the normal dock start competition without foil drive, instead of running along the dock and jumping onto the board like all the normal people were doing, because when I learned to dock start, it was jumping off a boat onto my board and pumping around, and then when COVID finished, I set up a ladder and just jumped off my ladder dock starting, because I didn't have where I lived in Oman. I didn't have a dock or a jetty to run along like most people do. So if you're doing a dock start from a static start, there's a limit to how small you can go in the foil that you're using, because you need to running start to get the momentum, to get the speed up to be able to dock start and pump a small foil. So when I was doing the normal dock starting competition at Lake Garda with the SFT, I was standing on the side of the marina, holding this board with a huge foil on the bottom of it, and it was, I don't know, I had to literally drop the board because it was so high above the water, drop the board into the water and then jump, land on the board and start pumping away. And yeah, I'm restricted to a big foil, so I'm pumping very slow. But the point is, I took part in it. It was great fun, and the SFT will allow anybody to join in these races. Then we did the foil drive sort of showcase pump races, where it was two of us at the time. He goes 3, 2, 1, go, and then we pull the trigger, get up on foil, and the theory was that you have to get on foil and be pumping as you go over the start line. Now, I've just reviewed some of the footage, and I have to say that I was the only person who wasn't cheating. I was the only person who actually started pumping. That's my excuse for why I didn't win. But yeah, it was hilarious, because this is something that we've you organised the first ever, I think the first ever foil drive pump race at AWSI last year, and that was so much fun. But it was a little bit out of my league, because when you were explaining, we were all sat in the water, you were explaining the rules, and you were going like, "You see that orange boy over there? We're gonna pump over there, turn around, and then motor back." And I was looking, "What orange boy?" And there's Shannon Stent to one side of me, and who was it? Somebody else to the left of me. We were all looking, and we were going, "I think he means that one on the other side of the lake." I'm I'm laughing at him going, there's no way he means that one. Josh, which one's for? He goes, the one on the other side of the lake. Oh, God, I can't. My legs can't cope with that. So yeah, that was a little bit on the extreme side for my stamina, but this one was very achievable. We did a number of different heats. In actual fact, every single normal pump race course we then did as the same course we did on full drive, and there were only 4 or 5 of us. We all sort of again we all raced each other, but it was pretty entertaining for the spectators because uh, yeah, if we fell, which a couple of us did, you could then get up. And there was one race where we started off, and Gale messed up the start. So he pulled the trigger, got up on foil, ollied up too high, breached, fell, and I was up pumping, and I was looking behind, going, no problem. And as I looked behind, I carved my wingtip caught the rope on one of the boys, and I fell. And then he saw me falling, and he pulls a trigger, and he races along, and we're sort of doing this catch up thing, which you can't do in a normal pump full race because, of course, if you fall, you've got to just paddle back to the start, and that's it. So it's got a lot of potential to get people into the sport. It's got a lot of potential for audience, as a spectator sport as well. And the SFT organisers, we were discussing a specific foil drive race, not just joining in, because we can join in, we can do literally any of the races. It's a good thing about foil drive, you can do anything you like with foiling. But they were saying we want to develop a proper foil assist race. So maybe you motor upwind to a buoy, and then you have to, from that point, you have to just let go of the controller so that everybody can see and not using the motor. And from that point, you're only allowed to maybe use full drives to get back up on foil if you fall. And then you have to go to another buoy, and then you have to sort of like ride the swell one direction and then downwind in the other direction. It's all, we can figure it out. It's got huge potential, I think.
I think that's a great idea. I think regardless, so last year at AWSI we had no wind, hence why we had a four-wheel drive race because it was the only thing that you could particularly do. But if we do have wind, we could do exactly what you just said. We could motor upwind for 2 kilometers, come back, down. It has to be downwind. I think that would be really cool because I think what you have seen in Lake Garda, I think some of the best competitions are the ones that people can visually see and be involved in. I think they're the most exciting. Like the typical downwind races where people go 50 kilometers and you don't see them after the first minute, it's a bit boring, you know? You don't really know what's going on. So I think it's exciting to
It,
have that stuff in the vicinity. Everyone's sitting on the dock watching or in a grandstand. Like it's just cool to see.
Completely. And even 2K, it doesn't have to be 2K. It can literally just be 500 meters, but you do the whatever route it is 2 or 3 times. I think as a spectator sport, it could transform foiling as well. And I can see, 'cause we discussed all sorts, and I can see parawinging events and courses being very similar to foil drive events and courses because it has the potential to do exactly the same thing. You don't have to have a particularly long course. You can go upwind. You can maybe like the FSRL Cocoa Beach, that
Mhm.
sort of race format where they just paddle out. They have to then pump upwind and then surf back. I don't know what the course is, but it's all within visual range, and those sorts of things I think are going to end up going just to be more popular because everyone can see what's going on. You can see people falling, you can see people overtaking, you can I mean the really big prestigious suck downwind races. I still think they're going to generate a huge amount of interest and excitement, especially when you've got the live tracking going on. That's really cool. So I think there's a place for everything, but just having it all within an area that people can see is pretty special as well.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about your performance then in the downwind then. Because
Oh,
was that probably
Jesus.
the most exciting one that you did, or was it pump foiling?
Well, I love downwinding. Downwinding is my favorite discipline of all of them. And, it's the only reason why I've started parawinging because, full drive and parawings, I think, are the perfect tool. For me, the longer the downwind run, the better. But I don't hate shuttle runs. Sometimes they're good fun because, you're with your mates, you're with people who are sort of like-minded. You can chat, but they're so difficult to organise. They're so time-consuming, and with the busy lifestyle that I have, and very different hours to most people's schedules, I find it almost impossible to arrange them. Um, so I'm mostly using full drive to go upwind as far as I can, and then downwind back again. Um, if there's waves, brilliant. I'll surf them as well. But
Tell
when
me how far
parawings
you're
came
going.
with full drive only, it depends entirely on the conditions. The best I've got yet with the high power motor, the high power battery, 12 to 16 knots. I think I was using the Fireball 1250. It may have been. So the best runs that I've had are on sort of big high aspect foils in that wind range. So the Art Pro 1201 is a really good one for this because they've got good low end, but so lovely and glidey, so efficient. So I got nearly 9 kilometers upwind. I did take it down to about 10% before I turned around, and I wouldn't advise people to do that just for the safety. You've normally I would leave 30, maybe 20% at least before I turn around and try and come back. But that particular day, it was one of those days where the swell was almost cross shore, so I was never more than, I don't know, 500-600 meters off the shore, and yeah, that was such an awesome day. The swell was super consistent. I was almost in the wind shadow as I was going upwind, and then downwinding. Like I say, I only had to go out another few hundred meters to get in the good bumps. Good thing about the Dutch coastline, between Den Haag and Wijk aan Zee, it's you've got about 150k of just non-stop swell. It's all one long beach, and it's usually cross on, either north on or south on, and yeah, it's very very safe from that point of view. You're always, if something happens, you're always going to be blown back onto a sandy beach. Um, but with parawings, the best I've done so far is 30k upwind with the parawing, and then downwinding straight back to the start point. It was, that was my aim was to try and do 10k upwind, maybe 15 I was thinking, but it just blew my mind. And again, I think I've only touched the surface of what's achievable in terms of long distances. Parawings at the moment, depending on the model, it's, some of them pull your arms out, some of them are pretty gentle, some of them are very good at going upwind. There's so many different styles and models out there at the moment. I've been testing a lot to see what ones work best for what conditions. Because like I say, I just think full drive and parawings are a dream match. Safety and as a backup system, they both work as a backup system. If one goes wrong, and let's face it, anything could go wrong. You can break your paddle. The wind can drop or pick up too much. Something could go wrong with full drive. It is electronic after all, and it's pretty. I've had so few problems with it, considering the amount of times I use it. But it's always conscious in my mind that something could go wrong, and if I'm quite a way offshore, I want a backup. So yeah, they work very very well indeed. Getting back to your original question, what is at foiling week? Which one did I have the most fun? Well, downwinding, of course, because downwinding is my passion. But I have to say the other races were just crazy fun. Somehow there's that competitive element, but you don't care who wins. You don't care but having said that, the downwind race was a bit of a bitter pill to swallow because the Barcelona full downwind race, where you were there with the code guys, Ben and Marcus Tardru, Dave West was there. We asked him to come specifically for foil drive because we wanted to show the world, look, foil drive is a valid way of entering and doing a downwind race, and not just a small downwinder, but the Barcelona turned out to be 18K simply because the wind direction was not the usual one for that year, so they had to choose a different route, but it was going to be 28K, and so we had a reasonable full drive contingent. Dave, myself, there were a few of the other full drive crew, but some other full drivers that aren't they don't work for us at all. They turned up and took part, and Dave won. He got up on foil with foil drive and didn't touch the trigger for the whole race. He used 1% of his battery, and I know it was ridiculous. So I was never going to catch him. Dave is, like yourself, one of the elite sup downwinders, streets ahead of my skill level. So here at Foiling Week, I was like, okay, this is going to be a really tight race. There's me, there's Andrea, there's Gail, Danielle. We're hoping to get a few others, a few other full drivers from Italy. And there were about 4 or 5 of us. And Andrea, bless him, poor lad, he got a really high temperature the night before, so he was out. And Philippe Axman, who is, like yourself and Dave, he is definitely an elite sup foil downwinder, who was going to take part in the sup division. He was like, Dom, it's really light conditions. I'm perfectly happy to make up the full drive numbers and do the race on full drive because, I don't want to injure myself. I'm training for the M2O. Literally 4 days' time, I'm flying to Hawaii. Is that all right? And I was like, brilliant, that's great. Yeah, more full drivers. Let's show everybody what we're capable of. And as the race started and we both got up on foil and he slowly but gradually pulled away from me, I was like, this is Barcelona all over again. No, I've let an elite join the race and there's no way in hell I'm going to win this one. So yeah,
What do they
another
do
one
different, Dom?
foiled.
What are they doing different?
The elite,
Yeah, what are they
uh,
doing different to get away from you?
smaller foils, better skill level, better stamina, better strength. More time on the foil. I mean, you guys are training all the time, and I'm as much as I'd love to spend more time on the water. My job, my family, everything else. It's I'm an average foiler. I used to be a weekend warrior, and it's only because of my passion for the sport that I make time to do more than just your weekend or whenever it's possible. It's I used to windsurf and kite surf literally as a weekend warrior because just busy lifestyle. But foiling came along and I just had to do more and more and more. I was just addicted, completely addicted. Getting a job in the foiling industry was certainly an opportunity that I just couldn't turn down. Well, I could have turned down, but working for Paul and Ben, no, I wasn't going to turn that down. It's I respect them. They became friends over the years. I know their business full drive. I know their product inside out. I know them. I was loving my career as a teacher. But when they offered the job, it was suddenly like, wow, okay, so I've changed careers before. I'm not scared by it, but I wasn't stupid. I wasn't going to do anything, to jeopardize my being able to support my family. When they offered the job, it was like, yep, this is brilliant. And then everybody's like, oh, yeah, you're so lucky. You're going to spend all that time in the water. It's like, this is a job, man. I'm spending more time in the office than I spend in the classroom. I've just got to make time to get in the water. And this is the beautiful thing about foil drive, because I have half an hour, I can spend half an hour on the water. Doesn't matter what the conditions are, doesn't matter where I am. I can literally just go and enjoy that time in the water. And I can practice, I can take risks, and it doesn't matter because if I fall, I pull the trigger and I'm up and away again. Whereas when I was learning to subfoil and learning to prone foil, I could spend 20 minutes of an hour on foil if I'm lucky. And now it's 59 minutes of an hour. So yeah, that's the beauty of foil drive.
Love it. I think we've got a little bit of time left, but I think you touched on it just before. I think a lot of people are curious about para wings, and I
Mm.
think you're kind of pioneering how you can use that with your foil drive and why you would use it with your foil drive. I kind of just want to know um, how your path has been with it.
How my path has been, that's been a very rocky road. The first two times I tried parawinging was with the original BRM Maliko, and I was grossly overpowered. This is in Tenerife. And yeah, wrong equipment choice, wrong conditions. I ate it. I was not a happy bunny as I came off the water both those times. Because I could see the potential for it. I was dying to try it, and I'd borrowed this BRM. I was in Tenerife, and yeah, it just didn't turn out well at all. Um, then the next two times, oh yeah, so that inspired me to buy the flows, the D wings from Flow, because the BRM Maliko does not perform well when it's overpowered, and I knew I wanted to use power wings in powered conditions. I'll get into that in a second. Um, so when I saw the D-Wings in action and how stable they were, I instantly ordered the three sizes that were available at the time, and I got them. And the first two times I used them, it was ridiculously light wind. I was so underpowered, and again, it was just not a happy experience at all. And then a friend of mine here in the Netherlands, Jouke, he's very good at power wings. He's very, very experienced in, gone through all the water sports. Really good power winger, very good downwinder, has a foil drive. So he's done it all. And I was watching him, and I said, yeah, I think I'm done with this. Hats off to you, congratulations, you've nailed it. And he goes, what's put you off? And I told him, and he said, go on a lake. What are you going on the North Sea for? Tenerife, that's super choppy, overpowered, underpowered. Go on a lake, wait for the right conditions. So I took out a bigger board, went on a lake, and it was pretty gusty still. And I didn't have an easy time, but I got up on foil and I was going up and down and, instantly upwind, with my natural side. Toe side, I was, maintaining ground, but not going upwind. And the next two sessions were so good and easy and made so much progress that I then went back onto the North Sea. And again, it was so difficult because it was gusty and the swell was huge. But I'm stubborn, and I just, because I could see the potential, I just stuck with it. And I don't know, it was probably about the sixth session, suddenly everything clicked. And, I was feeling comfortable. I was beginning to switch stance. I was toe side going upwind. I was really getting the angles, feeling the, where to put the power wing, not only in terms of the angle, but how far in front of you, using the bar to control the angle of attack, using the board, the angle of the board and the foil, bearing off at the right time. And this is, it took me back to learning winging right at the start. And do you know what? Power winging for me now, the most exciting thing about power winging for me is the fact that it's one of those sports that I've been lucky enough to start at the very beginning, and seeing how it's evolving, not only technically with the equipment, but how people are using it and what people are using it for. It's so exciting. And that for me is being part of that journey is so good. I'm literally addicted to Foil Rats podcast, and anybody who does any podcasts or YouTube videos about parawinging, I'm watching them, I'm learning from them. I've been meaning to do so many videos. I'm halfway through a big video of my experience, so I'll go into this in much more detail and a little bit more organized. And also reviewing a lot of the parawings because I've used so many of them now. I'm so lucky going to these events where all the brands are, they've got their parawings out for display, and I've used so many of them now. And what's really shocked me is, even, I suppose you could call this year two, but most brands are still on their version ones, even this early in the game. there's such refinement in some of the models, and a lot of them are very specific in their use case. Some of them are really good for upwinding. Some of them are really good for stow and redeploy. Some of them have got a great low end. Some of them have got a great top end. Some, all rounders. Um, and yeah, I'm just loving that. It's taking me back to the early days when I was in Oman and I was testing equipment and putting reviews onto the internet. And that sort of took a toll on me, to be honest, because oh man, the time it takes to sort of make those videos, edit it, put it out. But then the biggest thing is answering everybody's questions because I feel very strongly if you're gonna, I was just sort of doing it for the love of growing the sport. I wasn't getting any money or any remuneration for it whatsoever. But the time it takes to do that whole sort of YouTube thing, I sort of almost suffered burnt out from it at one point, and I thought, "Ah, that's it, I'm done. There are so many people doing this now. I'm just going to leave them to it." And then Parawinging came along, and it sort of drew me back into it, and I really feel inspired to start that process again and sort of put my experiences out and do a few reviews and just try and give people information. That's what it's about. It's not about saying this is the best one. What is the best one? It's all about what you're using it for and your style. And I might find it the best one, but you might not because you might have a different style or you might be in different conditions. So it's just about getting as much information out there as possible so people can make an informed choice and hopefully be inspired and see the potential of these things. God, I put a video out about the K-wing, the plume from F1, and I was almost shocked by the amount of hate that it generated. It was like there's one guy trolling me literally because I put this thing because that video had information about Parawings and the K-wing plume, and I put it on the Parawing group, and I put it on the Foildrive group because I was using Foildrive to get up on foil, and I put it on the Downwind group because I was using the Parawing and Foildrive to do a downwinder, well, an up downwinder. So I thought those three groups are relevant. People will find it interesting. And this guy, he messaged me on all three of them. Each one was getting more and more angry. Like the first one was something like, this is such a non-product. I don't know why you're bothering us with this. It's dead. And then I was like, oh, okay, all right. Sorry you feel like that. And then I went on to
But
the
surely
one of the
he's never
other.
even tried it, right? I guarantee it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But one of the other comments on where I put the little teaser for it on, when I do a YouTube video, I always put a teaser on Instagram just to try and get people to see that it's available. And there he just put something like, I don't know, you look so stupid or something like that. It was really, and I just put, why are you bothering to do this? If you haven't got a positive comment, don't comment. And just how much of your life does it take writing negative comments as opposed to just scrolling on through? Just ignore it. That's you might not find it interesting, but other people might. And I think all the other positive comments on those posts that I did should have shown him that a lot of people did actually find it interesting or useful. And like we said before, if we didn't have people like Greg Drexler who created the first proper Parawing. I know there's that guy Sam who created the pocket wing with two handles, and Cynthia Sinbad Brown was messing around with parachutes. It's all that evolvement of this is a silly idea, but somebody gets a hold of it and turns it into something amazing. And if people like that are gonna have their way, it stifles creativity, then it does no one any good.
I'm curious though, as like probably majority foil drive listeners of this podcast, why would they want to incorporate the parrowing? If you could break
Sorry,
that down
yeah,
for us.
thanks for leading me back. I get
It's
sidetracked
okay.
so easily. Yeah, the main reason, other than safety, is that it allows me to use a smaller board and foil. And
So why
again,
is it safety? Brett, go into that.
oh, yeah,
Why is it?
sure. Yeah, because if you're going to do long downwinders, or even access, swell or a break that's, quite offshore or whatever, then, power wings at the moment have got a very narrow wind range compared to other, wind sport type equipment. So if the wind suddenly picks up too much or it drops too much, well, it doesn't have to pick up or drop too much, suddenly you are either grossly overpowered or you can't even get the bloody thing in the air anymore. You certainly can't get up onto foil. So having foil drive means that if something like that happens, you can get back in. Or if something happens to foil drive, and assuming there's a little bit of wind, you can, or even a lot, to be honest, you can lie on your board and hold it up in the air, and it'll drag you. Again, don't go out in an offshore wind. It's the the usual rule in wind water sports. But as long as it's on or cross on, then one or the other will get you back to the start. So the safety aspect of it, and I've seen so many videos. There's this guy, is it Angus or Andy Mackey? Really cool guy, really down to earth. Love people like that who are just putting their experiences on. He's been cataloging his full drive, his Parrowing journey, and some of the videos that he puts out there, I genuinely feel bad for him. He was a kilometre out and he went past this buoy, huge great thing, just floating fixed position, and it created enough of a wind shadow for the Parrowing to drop out the air, go in the water, and then he didn't have enough wind to get back up onto foil, and he was a kilometre offshore. And
Oh wow.
I know he's had a number of experiences where and recently I've been thinking, yeah, just don't go out in light winds. It's like, for me, I would not Parrowing in less than 15 knots, partly because I've got foil drive, and 15 knots and under is perfect. It doesn't matter what else is going on. You got swell, you got waves, under 15 knots, and mate, it's just foil drive. I've got nothing in my hands. I've got nothing else to be thinking about. It's just pure foiling performance. But certainly when you're 15 to 20 knots consistently in that range or more, then the Parrowing just extends my upwinding ability. I can go further, and for me, I said before, downwinding is what I want to do. And yes, I can. The Parrowing lets you do laps, but really, I'm a bit of a hippie when you get down to it, because I've spoken on podcasts before about getting into this flow, and I find it very meditative. And you can't do that on 1 or 2K laps. When I'm even a 10K run now is sort of like the minimum that I like to do for, you get totally in the zone. You so I'm getting all mushy now, but the whole thing about feeling that energy in the ocean. When I used to do triathlons, I used to get into a state of mental and physical sort of I don't know, flow is the best way I've heard of putting it, where it almost feels effortless, and I can sort of project my focus onto, I don't know, just everything becomes effortless, everything becomes surreal, and I can almost look down on myself and my body and just see myself doing it. And that's me providing the energy to either cycle or run. But with foiling, it's even better, because I'm tapping into the energy of the ocean, which is propelling me. And yes, the skill to do that comes from me, and there is effort involved, but really I'm directing my foil within the energy of the ocean. That's the main energy for the propulsion. And it just blows my mind. And to get into that state, really, the longer the better. And I've never finished a downwind run that I haven't thought, I want to do that again instantly. I want to do that again right now. Let's do more of this shit. So Parrowings just let me go upwind for a lot further than the battery can do, in stronger winds. And that's the important bit, because stronger winds chews up your battery quicker if you're going against the wind. So like I say, 15, 16 knots and below, foil drive all the way, and that's it. But over that, Parrowing. But foil, then this is the other thing. Foil drive lets me use smaller boards and foils. And Dan from Foil Rat Lab Rat podcast, he's always talking to people, he and a lot of the people he interviews are always saying, yeah, it's great. Powerings are great because I can use smaller boards and foils. Saying, yeah, you're using like 20 liters below your body weight and volume. That's what you're now calling a small board because you're used to a big downwind board. I'm talking about 40 to 50 liters, and I'm 80 kilos. So for you, a 60 or an 80 liter board is small because they're used to 100, 120 liter downwind boards. But for me, a 60 to an 80 liter board is still big. So I'm now using the 38 litre Zappel. It's 5.0. It's a mid-length trench board from Apple Tree Surfboards. I'm using the North Midi. It's 5.2 by I think 52 litres, but I don't know, somehow it feels smaller and lower in volume. It's a really narrow design, good shape. For getting on foil, it's got good glide. The Axis full drive downwind mid-length board, it's 5.0 by 19, 50 litres, all that sort of range of boards I just absolutely love. If something goes wrong, that sort of 45, 50 litre sort of size will give me enough float to get back in. I I wouldn't like to go 4, 5, 6 kilometres offshore with less than 50 litres. I did it in Australia once, only 1K offshore with a 32 litre prone board, and I ran out of battery because I was hitting seaweed and coming off foil all the time. And I had a 1K swim back in, and it freaked me out big time because it was so tiring when you're dragging your whole body mass through the water, all that drag. And it was taking me forever. And I was in Australia with the sharks. Ooh. So that really freaked me out. So yeah, from then on, it's like, nah, 50 litres minimum if I'm more than a K offshore. So there you
So
go. It's safety,
yeah, I
it's
love to hear
upwind
that.
ability,
Safety.
and it's
Yeah.
the size of board and foil. It's all of those things for the combination.
And when would you start attacking this? Because it's quite elite, right? You're juggling a few things here. You got a power wing, you've got your controller, you've got to worry about your prop. Like there's a few moving parts going on. Would you dive into this straight away, or would you kind of get proficient at power winging first, or foil driving, like one or the other, and then merge the two? Or would you just take
Um,
on the two straight away?
I think it's whatever people feel confident with. Everybody's different. I started off using full drive on a, on a, I think it was a, yeah, it was the Zapple. It was the 38 litre Zapple, which was, again, in the conditions, I was overpowered. It's super choppy, never done powering before, and it was the wrong choice. I would definitely advise people to use a much bigger board than what they're used to, whether they're with full drive or not. Choose flat water, choose a big foil, choose a big board, go in the correct wind range for the powering that you're using. Um, and I think most people, especially kiters, will find it pretty easy. Wingers will find it, they pick it up pretty quick. I don't think it's a good tool for people to learn foiling with at all. I think it's just going to add to the chaos and just be a horrendous experience. Um, for learning downwind, there's so much to talk about there. But the thing about foil drive is, yeah, you've got to use the trigger and a bar at the same time. So for me, when I was learning, it was all about the bar in one hand, in my left hand, because I'm right-handed with the trigger. So I had the trigger in my right hand, and I could only start with the bar in my left hand. So getting up goofy, which is my natural, my normal stance. So that was fine. Going the other way, holding the bar and the controller in the same hand was difficult to begin with, but it very quickly became fine. And you'd be surprised. It's like foiling. Everything's difficult to begin with, and then suddenly it becomes easy, and you think, well, why was that an issue at all, ever? And it's the same with the dual, a bar and the trigger in the same hand. I do have big hands, but Foil Drive is about to come out with a multi-purpose controller that should make life so much easier. There's so many different ways that you can use that controller but like I say, once you're used to the trigger and besides, what I'm doing now, sorry, I should have said, started off with the powering above my head and then using full drive to bring the board up to the surface of the water, gain a little bit of speed, and then the power wing basically takes over and pulls me up onto foil. And at that point, I'm not using full drive anymore. Um, but the other way that I do now is that I'm up on foil with the power wing either wadded up in my hand in a tight little ball or in the stash belt. And then when I'm up on foil, and this is really cool because I'm now using my 31 litre prone board. So I'm up on foil, but you have to be either downwinding or riding some swell or a wave or something to then get the power wing to have enough time to get the power wing out, sort it out, make sure there's no tangles, throw it out, and then the power wing can take over. But what I can't do is I can't be motoring upwind and take the power wing out of the stash belt and throw it out because the delicate nature of the trigger, you've got to be precise with that. I've tried doing that a few times and either ended up releasing the trigger or pulling it 100% when I didn't want to and ending up with some interesting wipeouts. So yeah, there's all sorts of different ways. I think people need to figure out for themselves what they feel most comfortable with, either getting up on foil, right, foiling and then deploying the power wing, or having it in the air above them and using full drive to help them get up on foil. Just because I did it with the power wing above me to begin with doesn't mean to say that that's the best way for everybody.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for your tips and thank you for the recap of the few exciting months that you've just experienced. I'm sure you've got a lot more events to attend coming up, but we'll have to check back in soon to see what you're getting up to and how much further you've gotten upwind with your foil drive and parrowing. But thanks for your time, Dom. Do you have anything else that
My
you want to
pleasure.
leave the guests?
Yeah, I'm going to be, well, Full Drive Europe is going to be sort of opening up a few long-term competitions, not competitions, just challenges. Flat water pumping, upwind, downwinding, maybe with a powering as well. But I mean, we're talking about just foil drive now, really. So we really want to see people how you're getting on with foil drive, what you're using it for, and just to see how far people can push the boundaries. And yeah, we'll set a few challenges and an end date, and then people who get involved, and this will be on the Full Drive Europe Riders Group. There'll be prizes. There will be some pretty cool incentives for people to join. But the main point is for trying to build community. What I've seen in all my travels everywhere is that foil drivers are so cool. I mean, foilers in general are the nicest people out there. But within each discipline of foiling, you got wingers, downwinders, foil drivers. The more you have in common, the likelihood is that the more you're going to get on with each other, and the froth is real. People are so lovely to each other. It's with all the crap that's going on in the world, just want to switch off politics and turn the TV news off and just immerse yourself in foiling. And it's good for people's wellness, I think, and to build this community in foiling and foil driving, helping each other out, sharing experiences. It's just going to do everybody a lot of good. So yeah, watch out on the Foil Drive Europe Riders Group and Instagram for a lot more details.
That was a lovely way to send it off. Thanks for your time again, Dom, and we'll check in again soon.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Josh. Cheers.